Okay, here we go. Ultimate Strength Chat Volume 1. Um, Working title, we might go Ultimate Strength Conversations or Chat, see which one fits best. If you want to have a say in it, let me know in the comments below, and that might actually help me out. So this is Volume 1, Take 2. I did an episode or volume last week, and it did not go to plan, but I wanted to do it outside, but it was raining and it was windy and it wouldn't have worked. But today in Sydney, we've got a nice sunny day, although there's a bit of cloud cover at the moment. And so we're going to get stuck into it. And the one last week I just left till the last minute, which was a good thing that I still videoed it. But it just wasn't as good as it could be. So we're going to give it another crack today. Exciting things in the next couple of videos. We should be in a little bit more of a professional setting. I've got a podcast studio that we're going to be doing out of, which is quite cool. So hopefully we'll be able to get, or not hopefully, we'll be able to get just the audio version, and then we'll have the video version as well too. But initially, like I said in the very first one, we want to have it low barrier to entry, and we're going to be pretty simple to start off with. So I want minimal editing. I want to just be able to have the content and what I say and who I am and the people we have on be the substance without the editing. We will get to the fancy editing at a point. And I've got some cool people that are going to come on, and we're going to chat about training and all that sort of stuff. So today we're going to get started. I did put up on my Instagram a little bit of a Q&A. So I got a couple of questions, and then we're going to go through those, and then a little bit about me. So I guess the first bit is about me, why you should listen, and who I am. So I've been, and we'll get into this more as we go, and I want it to be, it will be more of a conversation as opposed to just me talking. And hopefully as we go on with it and it starts to, I get people on, the conversation starts to flow, and you'll start to learn about the people that I have on, and also about me, and kind of why you might want to listen, not why you should listen, and what you can get out of it. Should be pretty cool. So a little bit about me. So I am I'm originally from a really small town in Western New South Wales, or Central West New South Wales. There's only about a couple thousand people that live in my hometown. It's a place called Narromine. No one usually knows where it is. So I usually say that I'm from Dubbo, which usually people, if you're familiar with New South Wales, you've probably heard of Dubbo before. I have been a personal trainer now for just over 10 years, which is pretty cool. I started my business, Ultimate Strength and Conditioning, in 2014. So a couple of years out of school, and I started doing some PT before that. And then I was originally just doing group training, and a few PT clients here and there. And then I started my own business from there, where I did boot camps outside, and then some personal training as well. I did that for just over 18 months outside, and then I got my own warehouse gym, which is pretty cool. So I'll get a photo up of that, or a couple of photos of that on the screen. When I started, I was outside, and I started originally in, I think it was January in 2014. So in the middle of summer, in the Australian summer, and it was very, very hot. It gets, where I'm from, 40 plus degrees for weeks on end. Very, very hot. And then on the flip side of it, in winter, we have sub-zero temperatures in the morning. So obviously personal training, bootcamp stuff, we were doing it before work. So when I was doing it there, I did one full summer and 1.5 winters. And I'll throw some photos up on the screen of what it looked like I think the coldest temperature was about -4. So after that, I then got a warehouse gym, which was pretty cool. And then we were out of the cold for a little bit, but there was no heating, no cooling, so it was still pretty hot. I've been working in Sydney now for 7 years, which is kind of crazy to say. And I work at One Playground, which is formerly Fitness Playground. So got a little bit of an experience with being a personal trainer, and I've been training since I was about 12. So I think about 19 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I've got a good little scope there of experience. I've worked with a lot of people. I think the youngest person that I've worked with as a client was about 10 years old, because they were doing some sports and stuff like that, and their parents wanted to get them into some training. So I have experience with very, very young, and then very, very old. I have trained someone that's 82 or 83 years old, and then anywhere in between. I used to train a lot of, in my hometown, junior rugby players and junior rugby league players, which is I've took a lot from, where I have a background in playing rugby league and rugby union, and like most kids playing those sports growing up, you probably want to be professional, and that's something that I wanted to do. Skill level obviously was not there, otherwise I'd probably be playing. And then there was a lot of injuries in the process. So I have broken quite a few bones, dislocated my shoulder on many occasions, to the point where it got so weak and unstable that it would happen when I would sleep. I've torn my AC joint in my right shoulder, so that's the ligament that holds your collarbone in place. I had a full tear, grade 3 tear, and didn't have surgery, so I still don't have AC joint. So my collarbone on the right side just is there, but not attached fully. And I had a lot of concussions. So one of the things that I was really passionate about was helping younger kids, like where I was, train from a good, get a good start with training, and focusing on the things that they should be focusing on, and then a couple of things that they want to focus on. It's quite common for people that want to improve their sport, or get into weight training, or young kids that want to get into weight training, and all they do is bicep curls and bench press, which is sick. But squatting and deadlifting, all those sorts of things are going to be probably more beneficial than split squats and all that. So it was really, really cool to see that, what the effect was when you got teenage boys to lift properly, and see how far they could get, which was really, really cool. I got some clients that played some pretty high level rugby union and rugby league. And then, like I said, I've been working in Sydney now for the last 7 years at One Playground, and I'm one of the senior trainers there, and I have had a good bit in like a hand in educating the trainers there, and I've trained quite a lot of the trainers. So that's a little bit about what I do. I guess why I started training initially was, I always say sports performance, and that was some of it, but it was a massive thing for me was body composition. So I wasn't really, as a kid, I was a little bit on the heavier side, and I wasn't super comfortable and confident in my body composition. So that was a big catalyst to why I started training, because, as going through your teenage years and people start to, develop, and you see, some kids have six packs and are really, really confident and all those sort of things. And I was on the complete opposite end of it. So that was a big reason why I started. And it's the reason why I started training. Having the sports performance side of it was a cool thing as well. And naturally, being a little bit bigger as a kid, I got strong fast, so that was cool. But it was always something that I struggled with, and that's a big reason why I do what I do now. Is I want to help people be more confident and more comfortable, and in their body composition. And it's really, really rewarding to see, the transformation that you can take people through, achieve a result that they never thought they would achieve. Getting abs for the first time, building their chest, whatever it might be, is really, really cool. And then on the flip side of that is I do like the performance side of training, in terms of increasing the squat, increasing the deadlift, increasing the bench press, whatever it might be, or getting fitter, and all those sorts of fun things that make the process more engaging than just we're looking at the the body composition and the aesthetic side of it, which is a massive part of it. But instead of just like, I'm only doing this because I want to get leaner versus I'm doing this because it will improve my performance. If we match nutrition with that as a byproduct, you will get the body that you want. You'll look and feel and perform like an athlete. And that's kind of the thing that I want to be able to help more people doing. And hopefully this platform allows me to reach more people. They understand my message and then go from there. So I guess all of that, I'll put up the transformation that I've gone through where I was as a kid. I have one photo from about 11 or 12 years old, and I weighed nearly as much as I do now, which is quite crazy to think. And I guess I want people to see that because it's very easy for people to see personal trainers and people in the fitness industry and sort of just go, oh, well, they have always been like that. It's easy for you. It's, whatever it might be. But for a lot of people, it's not the case. For some people, it is, and that's awesome. More power to them. But I really do understand that the struggles that people go through to go from being overweight and not being super, super confident to getting to the point where you are more confident. It's obviously a constant process and it doesn't ever end. But hopefully we can bring people from that position and get you into that direction. And when you get in that direction and you see the success that you can have, you get more confident and you can, speed up and like create momentum and all those sorts of things. So that's my goal and I guess why I do it. But my transformation, I'll probably put it up there. For now, you'll be able to see, obviously from a kid, yes, I've grown and got taller and all those sorts of things, but it's not easy for me to be in, like, it is easier now than ever, but it wasn't like cool, like guys always had abs. So it's a pretty drastic transformation. There's been times that I've gone up and down, depending on, either just falling off, which everybody has, and I've definitely done it a lot in the early days, and hopefully I can, and one of the things that I'm going to do is chat about the mistakes that I've made, things I wish I knew, things I wish I, could have started with, and what I've changed my opinion and stuff on. That's pretty much it for me now. The next thing we're going to do is just going to cover some Q&A. So one of the things that I want to do here is just give a bit more of my thought process behind what I do, and how I think about things. I think it's beneficial. I've been a personal trainer for a long period of time, and I have a large base of knowledge and a lot of experience. And one of the things that my clients that come to me enjoy and find value in is my approach and the way that I think about things and how I explain things for them to understand what they need to do. There's a lot of information out there for health and fitness, and obviously as a personal trainer we decipher that the best we can and ideally give you the things that you need to know to shorten the time that it takes you to get the result. And it's taken me nearly 20 years to get to the point where I'm at now. If I can shorten that time period for someone, that's very valuable for you, but also like it's cool to be able to see that happen. So today we're going to look at a couple questions and go from there. Why is the squat the best exercise of all? If anybody knows me or seen me on social media, you know that I enjoy squatting. Big reason why I think it's one of the best exercises that you can do, and I joke and will say that it is the best exercise because for me it's really, really good, but I don't think it's the only exercise. But I take the piss a little bit, so I say that. But I think it's one of the best exercises if you can do, and we're talking about barbell back squat, is it's usually going to be a lot more time efficient than other exercises in terms of it can recruit a lot of muscle mass and train a lot of things in a short period of time. One of the biggest things that will affect if someone enjoys a squat or not, one of the biggest things is going to be someone's leverages. So in talking about like everybody's individual anatomy, how their bone structure and body is essentially set up. For me, it's really, really efficient to get into a squat largely because I have a short femur and I have a long torso. So short legs relative to the length of my torso. So when I squat, and I'll put some videos on the screen, you can see that I have a really upright torso and I have that classic squatty squat. It's very easy for me to get into that position. I've worked on it a lot of practice, a lot of mobility stuff to solidify that, but it is a big reason why I gravitate towards that. On the flip side, if we were to look at squats versus deadlifts, deadlift is obviously much more inferior exercise. I say that obviously jokingly, but for me, because my torso is really, really long, I have a really long lever that is my back, and it essentially then gets exposed a lot more when I'm in a deadlift position versus when I'm in a squat position with my torso being more upright. So there's just going to be harder time because that's going to be more likely to bend. So I gravitate to squatting a lot more because of that. I do think the squat can be done more efficiently for everybody, and that's one of the things that I do have a good bit of experience coaching on. But everybody's squat's going to look differently. I don't try to make everybody's squat look like mine, because people that have leverages like mine, it will look like mine. But if you don't, it won't. But there's a couple things, and we'll get into it on the channel, that you can do to make the squat more efficient for you. But I do think most people can improve that and get better at that if they spend the time and coaching and whatever it might be on that, which I've spent a lot of time coaching and practicing it myself. I think that's pretty much it for the squat, but I think everybody's individual circumstances will dictate what exercise they like, and I do still do a lot of other exercises. I just don't share it as much because I like squatting, and that's, I guess, my favorite exercise. How to get better grip strength. So with grip strength, I think it's super important. Our hands are a pretty important part of our body. We obviously use them for everything within our life, and we need to carry and hold on to stuff. So I think it's really important that people have strong hands or improve their grip strength. If we're looking at grip strength, I guess grip strength is going to be very specific to what you are gripping. If you are gripping a barbell, for instance, like there's a certain amount or certain type of grip strength, I guess, that's going to be specific to that. But if I was to grab something like the chin-up bar up here, which is much thicker, that's not necessarily going to correlate from one to the other. Typically, if we do have thicker grips, it usually makes it a little bit easier to hold a thinner grip, but not always. And then there's difference between training the grip and then obviously training the forearm to get bigger. Both are obviously super closely related, but one doesn't necessarily mean that the other will happen to the greatest extent. So if we're looking at grip strength itself, the best exercises that I would look at is literally anything that you're holding on to for a period of time that challenges that grip. So one thing that you could do is just holding onto a barbell loaded really heavy for a period of time. There's going to be a difference between grip strength and grip endurance. The longer something goes, the more you are going to be training grip strength endurance, and then the shorter it goes, the more you're going to be training grip strength. So there's going to be differences in that. Most people would probably look at something holding it for a long period of time and think that that's strength, but it's going to be more endurance. Both are really important, but our hands can actually exert quite a lot of force relative to the size of the muscles that are there compared to another muscle group. But at a point, they will lag behind what other muscle groups can do. As an example, if you were to look at a deadlift, it's always going to be the limiting factor to a certain extent. If you were to just hold a bar with a double overhand grip, that's why you'll see people do like an underhand grip and an overhand grip or stretch grip, or using a hook grip or straps from there. So holding onto something, you could do different implements. Hanging is going to be a really good one. To recap, I guess using the barbell, holding that for a period of time is going to be a really good one. Even something as simple as holding onto a dumbbell. You can do dumbbell pinches, things like that. It's going to be really good. And then the next one is going to be and anything that's slightly different. So you could do holds with like towel chin-ups is going to be a really good grip exercise to kill a couple birds with one stone. But even just hanging onto a towel, you do the same thing with dumbbells. Plate pinches are going to be really, really good. If you were to grab something like this and holding onto it for a period of time, the difference in the thickness will change whether it's stronger or not necessarily as thin as stronger. If you were to hold a heavy weight with a thin implement like that, it's still just as hard as if you were to hold a thick one. So it's going to be very specific. And then if you're looking at forearm size, which will help grip strength, but it's not necessarily going to be for the same reasons. I'll put a video up. The wrist roller one that's on the barbell in the rack is going to be one of the best ones that you can do. It's going to train the forearms a little bit more natural. They're good at holding onto things and twisting and turning. But then you could also be doing something like a wrist curl there, which you're going to put slightly different. There's going to be a little bit more eccentric loading, so on the way down, than you will do if you're on the barbell, which is going to be really, really good if you don't have that. But have a look at the setup on the wrist roller. That's probably going to be the best forearm builder that I think you can do. And I think I said it, but farmers walks and stuff like that, it's going to be really, really good for you to do. So I guess that's grip strength and forearm strength and size. Talk us through your diet. Okay, cool. So this is something that I haven't really posted a lot of content on, just from, I guess I never used to think that I knew a lot, but now I realize that I do know quite a bit. I've spent a lot of time. Obviously, I've changed my body composition to the extent that I have. I focus on diet a lot. It was just with coaching it, it's going to be one of those ones that's harder for most people to adhere to diet. But it's not necessarily like this cliche of like training is 10%, diet's 90%, whatever it might be. Whatever the limiting factor for most people is going to be probably the thing that will limit your results or not. And for a lot of people it is diet, but for some people it's not. So I haven't really spoke too much on it, but we're changing that. We're going to do those things. So my diet at the moment is I am in a cut. I've lost, as of today, about 8 kilos from November, which is quite a lot. And my diet is currently, I'm about 2,400 to 2,600 calories. And the foods that I eat, pretty stock standard as you would see anybody else eat. Chicken, rice, I have rice cakes, I eat a good bit of fruit, so bananas and stuff like that, Greek yogurt, and then I have some different like nut protein bars and stuff like that. The biggest thing for diet that most people, I guess, really need to understand is that this energy balance is the biggest thing, and it's the hardest thing for most people to adhere to. But if we are wanting to get leaner, we need to eat in a calorie deficit. If we're wanting to get bigger, we need to eat in a calorie surplus. We want to stay the same maintenance, but it's how you set that diet up. It's going to be efficient for you. I pretty much eat the same foods year round. There'll be some variation as I go, but for the most part, I am one of the lucky ones but it's lucky from habit that I can just eat the same thing over and over again. It does make it a lot easier to adhere to a diet if you can do that, but it's harder in practice for a lot of people than it is for others. So that's where my diet is. I guess that was the question. The other thing that I do is I do fast when I am dieting or trying to get leaner, just to shorten the eating window that I have. In some cases, some people might argue that it's not very efficient. In others, it might be more efficient. For me, if I can shorten the eating window, so if I eat I don't have like a specific window, I'll just not eat when I get up and just drink coffee, like I have done today, and it's, what's the time? 10 o'clock now, and I got up at 7. So I haven't eaten, just had some coffee, reading, whatever it might be. But then it allows me to eat more later in the day and be less hungry later in the day. So that's a big thing that I do. I do think there's some other benefits to fasting and things like that, but I'm not an expert on it, and I'm not going to make any claims here with that, because other people know a lot more than me, but for me it works. Other people who are really, really hungry in the morning, it's probably not going to work, and like to eat less later in the day. Awesome. And you can fast like that, but I don't think it's very efficient. The only thing with it is, the biggest worry that most people have is it's not very efficient for building muscle mass, because then you have long periods of time without protein, which definitely is a thing. Hopefully you can still hear me. There's a plane flying over. Definitely is a thing, but that's where I'm at the moment. Another question there, I guess, in relation to diet, how much coffee do I drink? I drink far too much, probably. I drink probably anywhere from like 3 to 6 cups a day, depending on the day. If I'm drinking closer to the 6, I try to have some of that decaf, so there's a little bit less caffeine. But as a personal trainer, we get up pretty early. Yes, you can do it without coffee. I applaud people who do it without coffee, but I need it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have a business. But I'll drink anywhere from that. 3 to 6, I guess the average would probably be 3 or 4. Some days a little bit higher. If it's a weekend, I'll probably have a couple more, but I try to, I just really enjoy the taste of coffee. And I only drink it long black pretty much, because I'm pretty boring like that. What supplements do I take? So this one, I don't take many supplements. If any, I take one. I take creatine. I think it's been proven more often than not, or actually I don't think it's ever been disproven that it isn't effective, or if it's been proven that it's the most effective. So that's going to be really, really important for strength and power sports and anything where you want to exert more force. I think it's one of the supplements that you can't go wrong taking, and everybody could take and benefit from it. I don't know the ins and outs of it. To the largest extent, the main reason that people will take it is because it helps replenish ATP, which is very important for essentially life. That's what all energy is made of, but also very short, intense muscle contractions, which is what we do when we are lifting weights. I have seen a little bit of research or heard of a little bit of research that it does have a positive effect on brain injuries, which is really, really cool. I've had a lot of concussions in my time from riding motorbikes and playing rugby and bikes and stuff like that. So it's cool that has an effect on that, but I don't know to what extent. But that's all I take. In terms of supplements, main reason is just from a cost perspective. I just don't want to spend a whole lot of money on it. Second reason I don't have like a protein shake or anything like that is because one, in the past I've had a hard time digesting whey protein, and then from there, if you were to look at vegan proteins, I just have a harder time digesting that. So I don't want to have any adverse digestion reactions, I guess. So I don't. Then I prefer to eat my food than I do drink it. So that's a big thing for me. I've never had an issue trying to get enough protein in. If anything, I have to pull protein down because I will eat not too much as in a bad thing, but it's just unnecessary, and that can save a lot of money if I have more carbs. If I were to take supplements from there, I'd probably look at taking more vitamins and minerals that are going to be more important. So zinc, magnesium, sometimes vitamin D3 I have taken a lot in the past. Those are the main ones, multivitamin, and then fish oils and things like that. Most people want the fancy supplements that are gonna, pre-workouts, protein powders, and like fat burners and things like that. They do work to an extent, but not to the extent that it's going to be meaningful change that people want to, like, this mad product said it's going to do this. A lot of times it's just the marketing with that. If we're talking pre-workouts and stuff, we'll just have coffee. If I have something before I train, main thing that most pre-workouts will give you is a boatload of caffeine, which is a stimulant. The second thing that most pre-workouts will have is amino acid called beta-alanine, which is a lactate buffer. And the big reason why they put it in there is, one, buffer lactate, but also two, when you take too much, you overconsume it, you will have a side effect, which is the skin tingling. It does literally nothing other than that, the side effect. So there's no real negative side effect other than you feel the skin tingling. But when it's in a pre-workout and you get amped up and your skin starts to tingle, then people get the association of it must be doing something insane. It's not. It's just making your skin tingle, and it means that you've taken more than your body can tolerate. So you could have beta-alanine in a smaller dose, waste less of it, get more of a positive effect from it, and not have your skin tingle. And if anything, the skin tingling can, for people, be an a detriment to your workout, because it makes your skin tingle. Be better just to not have your skin tingle. So that's reason why I don't take anything like that, and then just cost from there. What else have we got? Okay, last one is going to be, what is my favorite quad exercise? So I think someone's asked this because they will probably expect me to say squat, which is a very good exercise for the quads. But if we're looking at what I think is more efficient for whether building quads or strengthening the quads, it's going to be something like a pendulum squat or a hack squat. And the reason being is, for most people, for most people, the squat is always going to be limited by your ability to hold a really, really good position, which is going to come predominantly from the core musculature. Then we're looking at balance from there. And those two things will limit the amount of output that you can get out of the quads to maximally grow the quads. So if we can get an exercise where we get rid of those things, like something like a machine, where we're going to be most supported or more supported, and we don't have to worry about the stability issues, we can get a lot more output out of the quads, which technically or not technically will grow the quads a lot more, which is why you'll see bodybuilders, particularly nowadays, don't do much squatting, and they'll do more machine-based stuff because they just want high amounts of output to maximally stimulate the quads. You could then make the argument that something like a leg extension will do that job as well too. But if we look at the size of the quads and then how they work, they usually quads have a really, really good stretch shortening cycle or stretch reflex, so that when we go down into the bottom position of a squatting movement, we'll get a really, really big stretch of the quads. And there's going to be a lot of load on the quad there itself. And then there's going to be a lot less load at the very top position relative to something like a leg extension, which is where we're going to be in the most shortened position. It's really, really good exercise to do, but you're then going to limit the actual potential that you can train that muscle where it's more effective at growing. So yeah, that's what I would look at if I was looking at more of an effective exercise in terms of just like the stimulus that you can get on the quad itself. But I also then do think that if we are to take all things into account, and if someone can squat really, really efficiently, I would argue that I think most gyms will have more squat racks than they do a certain piece of equipment like a pendulum squat or a hack squat. At most, you might see 2, maybe 3 of each of those, but it's rare. You're going to have so many more opportunities to back squat if you can do it efficiently for you. And I would argue, if you were to, hopefully that doesn't drown out too much, if you were to have to wait for someone to get off one of those pieces of equipment, but in that time you could have 30 or 40 minutes squatting, I would argue that that's going to be more efficient. But there's a lot of, I guess, context to what you're looking at. And then someone's leverages and things like that. So I think the other exercises are really, really good accessories if you want to build your squat. If you just want to build quads, they are going to be better. But again, there's a lot of, I guess, context and nuance in whatever you're doing. That's pretty much just us for today. Hopefully, if you have got this far, you found it enjoyable. Next week, next episode or next volume, we are going to be in a studio, which I'm really, really excited about. It's going to look nice and professional, and then we'll be able to get volumes out a little bit more frequently. I did say one of my mates called me out on it. He said I was going to post a video every week. I videoed the video last week and then I didn't do it. So that was the plan. And I did also just say it in the instance where I was like, cool, I'm going to put a number on it because I hadn't when I was doing the first video. We're going to do monthly at the worst. Okay, once we get up to speed, we will be able to do a little bit more and get more episodes and more volumes out. But that's going to be it for now. If there's anything that you would like me to talk about, any questions that you have, please pop them in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, share, all those fun things, and then I will catch you on the next one.